Hello, and welcome to the Activate and Illuminate podcast with Mel. I'm Mel, and I just wanted to give you an idea of why I wanted to do this podcast. So I will tell you that wasn't necessarily always my initial dream, but I found myself over the last number of years talking to people, connecting with people, hearing people's stories that inspired me, that I felt like had such a place in this world. And I wanted to bring a little bit of exposure to that. I wanted for people to hear some of these stories, and I wanted to be able to listen to the kind of stories that inspired me. And I will tell you that's not always the most famous people. In fact, likely not. And it's not always, the people that you expect to be doing big things and out there. And I would hear stories of people illuminating themselves and others and turning on their life and turning on their potential in ways that inspired me so much. So to take it all back, I'll give you a little bit of a background. So two particular areas of my life that I felt have been super passionate about for about the last 10 years, and the other for actually a little bit longer than that. One is I have been involved with a cellular activation company that has products that turn on people and animals to work a little bit better. So that has been a little bit of my premise for seeing some of these people turn on their bodies in ways that were exciting and turn on their lives, really. And I started to understand that if we could help people, do this little bit of thing that turned into that little bit of thing and essentially become like a domino effect in their life of, turning on their potential, it started to excite me a lot. And then I started to think, maybe it wasn't just the physical, maybe people's potential and people's, true essence was getting unleashed and released through these different activation moments. And so that excited me, and I've been doing that for about the last 10 years. And so I have seen some pretty fascinating stories, some pretty, amazing stories. And some of these stories that you're going to hear and some of these examples might be from that world. Another world that I was passionate about, particularly in the last few years, was entrepreneurs and small business. So what I saw happening in the small business world is that, they started being called things like non-essential. They started being made to feel like they had to justify their place in this world and their existence. And I had created a platform that was to help showcase small businesses and entrepreneurs and people that maybe didn't have a huge online Google presence, or maybe that did not, have the business savvy to, do everything right and have a huge marketing department, huge PR firm, blah, blah, blah. So I got real passionate about the little guy and about creating exposures for some of these non-Amazon type of people. And that is what made me want to talk to them, share their stories. But here's a little bit of a backstory about myself personally, is that I have always been one of those energetic kind of woo, kind of feeling kind of people where I knew from a real early age that I could feel people's energy, that I could just tap into that world. So I always wanted to get some of the nitty gritty on people and what made them who they were and what they felt passionate about and some of the crazy thoughts that they had and some of the things that might have changed their perceptions or challenged their beliefs over time. And so that is the type of podcast this is what I strive to, or that I will strive to create, because those are the conversations that light me up. Those soul-fed, heart-opening, expansive conversations where both people walk away going, yes, that was something special. That was that was a moment that changed the way I felt about something, or changed my perception of something, or it just made me feel so dang much love that I feel different now. And so over the last, I will say, maybe 4 months or so, I was wrestling with this idea in my head of, how am I going to share these stories? I'm talking to people all the time about, some of their health things or their activation things and some of their business things. And I thought, well, maybe I'll put it out there on YouTube, and maybe, we'll connect and we'll record some Zoom meetings and put them on YouTube. And then through happenstance, I was connected to a lady who's a podcast producer, and she started me down this road of thinking of just opening this up to a bigger conversation and more conversations, and maybe a little bit different audience than I was originally anticipating, expecting, or necessarily even thinking that was the direction that I was going. So that is what has happened. This has been a fairly fresh endeavor, but I will tell you that I am extremely passionate about it. I can't wait for you to hear some of these people. So far, on some of the episodes that we've recorded, you're going to hear people pushing their bodies to extremes and doing things that were never thought possible. You're going to hear people who've challenged their mindset to turn on their potential in ways that they didn't think was possible. You are going to hear about people's spiritual moments and things that, led them to this point in their life, and key concepts and key moments that just changed who they were. And you're going to hear people, you might hear some things that challenge your beliefs. I know I have, just in the conversations that I've had with people. I felt my judgments come up. I felt some of my past beliefs come up. I felt different things maybe changing a little bit about what I felt of humanity, what I felt was important, what I thought mattered. You hear people being put in their moment of just that life-altering moment, and all of a sudden nothing else matters. After that, the way they thought about everything, the way they thought about people that were in their lives, the way they thought about, the things that mattered, the work, the 9 to 5, the grind, once you have a life-altering moment, it changes from that moment on. And those are the kinds of people that we're going to hear from. And so I have felt this process. Here's what I've done, is that I have listened. Even though it was really scary in some spots, I've listened to the feeling of when I should connect with people. So you will have people on here from different countries, different places, different occupations that I've connected to or reached out to that have said yes. And it was in those moments of listening to who I should connect with that I just felt like it was divinely guided so that you could hear their stories. So I'm going to promise to push myself out of my comfort zone, to challenge some of my beliefs and my perceptions. And I really hope that you will too, and that you'll join me for this journey, and that hopefully you'll feel so inspired by some of these, I like to call them extraordinary people living in just an ordinary life. I hope that you'll feel so inspired that it might make you think a little differently about your life and just, how you can impact people. So that is why this podcast is called Activate and Illuminate, because I hope through conversations of people activating and illuminating their life that maybe you'll give yourself permission to do that as well. So thank you. I appreciate you. And also, if you're listening to this, I would invite you to share it. It'll be available on every major podcast platform, both video and audio, for those that have video. And yeah, thank you. And I appreciate you. And welcome to the journey.